Love, First Atlantic Bank. Let me say good morning to my good friends, Raymond Aqua.
Good morning.
And how we doing this morning?
What is wrong with this low energy this morning? Good morning.
Charlie, the stories that I'm hearing, Malik, you can't really help it, can we? Yeah. And the sad part is that you keep hearing students coming to you saying that it's happening. I mean, as I was entering the studio this morning, I was texting a friend who was telling me about someone who was failed. Yes, who was failed comm skills
messages
in KNUST from first year to final year because she was refusing the advances of a lecturer. It is something that is happening, and if we keep ignoring it, anyway. Charlie, let's do the front pages, okay?
Now, let me start with the New Crusading Garden that's reporting this morning that Sunyani Nursing Training School students hail Akufo-Addo for restoring allowance, and religious leaders have allowed the world to dictate to us. There's one about the national best cocoa. Not always get confused, eh? So the proper sequence should be best national, but we never say it that way. At least that's what I thought, right? When you are putting these qualifying words.
So it's not national best.
It should be best national cocoa farmer.
Oh, okay. So it's, yes, best
that's
national
cocoa farmer. That's if you want to do
farmer.
proper arrangement of the qualifying words.
That's very, very educated, Raymond. Thank
My
you.
problem is that we never write it that way.
And you want to oust the newspaper?
Now Springfield starts drilling at Cape 3 Points, and that's on the front page of the New Crusading Guide too.
The graphic business has on its front page huge budget deficits in election year. Government expenditure not the problem. This Associate Professor Eric Osei-Sibe saying local firms are unable to meet 5% oil sector demand. GMPC Explore Code to the rescue. 43 individuals win at 40 under 40 awards. Back page of the graphic business, curb GMPC's non-core activities. IFS urges Parliament, calls for new law.
Now, the Finder is reporting this morning Ghana's Day of Shame is there, but they title it Brute Police Crash, Unarmed Protesting Lawlessness and Rubber Bullets, Water Cannons Unleashed. And in this century, that particular act, I'm sure everybody can condemn it, was so not necessary.
Everybody should condemn it.
That's on the front page of the Finder. There are others too that says NPP condemns police brutality on demonstrating law students, and Opuni Agongo lawyers calls yet another delay in proceedings. Finder with those stories.
The NPP condemning the police handling of the law students' protest is also on the front page of the Daily Statesman newspaper. Maritime dock workers restate opposition to MPS port deal. The impossible is now possible under Akufo-Addo. That's a Bono chief saying.
Now, the Ghanaian Times is reporting this morning the police law students clash is there. 2 injured, and we are told 13 were arrested, but we are told that later on the police said we had let them go. Pass Wasi to shame critics. President urges first batch of free SHS students. Pass it to let them know that I brought in the right students.
The Daily Guide newspaper, Professor Jampo trapped in BBC sex video. Bani leaders warned Cassius mining out. Bawumia marks 56th birthday with the vulnerable, and computer hardware drives in Opuni trial missing.
And Jampo wept is on the front page of the Chronicle. Threatens to sue BBC over sex for grace expose, and alumnus mutilated on KNUST campus. We need nurses to build world-class health system. This is according to the President of the Republic of Ghana. All these stories, they are on the front page of the Chronicle.
Okay, the Daily Graphic is my last paper. Focus on development, stop over concentration on winning elections. That's Dr. Emmanuel Akwete charging political parties. Build MMDA's capacity to mobilize funds. That's Eric Osei-Sibe saying. The hard drives missing at the law court complex is also here. Back page of the Daily Graphic newspaper. Government targets 100% electricity coverage by 2025. And of course, the law students' protest is on the back page of the Daily Graphic. Raymond, I'm done.
And Jampo wept.
Yes, and let me just read to you the very first paragraph of Maxwell Ofori's article in the Chronicle. It says, when government policy critic Professor Ransford Jampo, a political science lecturer at the University of Ghana, neatly dressed in his African print, entered the lecture hall, his aim was to impart knowledge, but ended up wetting his handkerchief as he broke down in front of the students. In a bizarre video, outspoken Professor Jampo was emulating what the scripture said of Jesus Christ in John 11:35. And Jesus wept. The shedding of tears followed hooting by his students on the beautiful Monday, October 7, 2019, hours before the premiere of that particular work that was done by the BBC, dubbed Sex for Grades. So that's on the front page of that particular Chronicle paper, and it details Jampo's response. The response, which includes that he has been cancelled to be silent. It also says that unfortunately my students this afternoon also insisted that I say something to clear the air, and I'm grateful to them for the support. I have a lot to say, he said, but I'm suing the BBC for defamation tomorrow. But he has spoken to us. He has denied ever harassing. Indeed, he has stipulated that there is nowhere in that particular video which he is depicted as engaging in sex for grades. To wit, there is nowhere he's offering the young lady or exchanging what they call it, the grades that is supposed to give a student,
or offering anything.
Yes, for what they call it, sex in this case. So that is his main point. That if you have watched it, he's very cordial with his students and also other people too. And this is one of the indications that were displayed in that particular video. This is the main reason why he feels his reputation is being dented. He feels it's a smear campaign by some people, and the BBC is being used as a conduit for this particular smear campaign.
And he's going to sue the BBC.
Yes.
But you guys did see in the video that he said he promised this girl that he'll push her to go and do her masters, he'll push her to study more, right?
Which is not a crime anyway. You can push, if you promise to push somebody to go and study, it's not, how incriminating is it?
Well, in the UG Sexual Harassment and Misconduct Policy, page 3, it says other forms of sexual misconduct in addition to sexual harassment include staff conferring undue favors to influence subordinate staff or students to yield to sexual desires.
Pushing somebody to study, I don't know whether that amounts to
conferring an undue favor.
All of that might be explained by Jampo telling us that the students are engaged. It's not a student of the University of Ghana, and that the course the girl told me she was doing had nothing to do with the University of Ghana.
It's not run by the university.
So he's basically saying that I dealt with a student from a different university.
Okay, so
I think there could have been. I think there could have been more in this documentary. There could have. There certainly should have been more. It doesn't look to me that there's a lot more in this, because I watched the thing and I was wondering, is that all? Anyway, let's talk about law students yesterday and the protest. We know that the Association of Law Students yesterday marched on the street demanding reform in legal education. Of course, we know that demonstration itself, the Daily Graphic reporter Donald Atodapatim says an otherwise peaceful demonstration which was broken about the police when the protesters attempted to walk to the Jubilee House to present their petition to the president, asking him to make an intervention by calling the Attorney General into action to get the General Legal Council, the regulator of legal education in Ghana, to make the necessary reforms so that students can have access to legal education. They submitted their petition, and their petition is essentially looking at liberalizing or opening up legal education, that the practice where all the various faculties, about 13 faculties that offer people LLBs, and after these people have obtained their bachelors of law degrees, they have to now go and sit an entrance exams, and the last entrance exam just turned out very interesting results. Out of the 1,820, only 128 qualified. The case being made by the law students in their petition, which was submitted to the president yesterday, is that the faculties have the capacity to teach people the professional courses that they would have gone to the Ghana School of Law to go and offer. So why keep everybody needing to go to the law school to go and do their professional course? Why not allow their various faculties to teach them the same courses? Sometimes the same lecturers who are teaching at the Ghana School of Law are the people who are teaching in these various faculties. So allow the people to undertake the professional courses, sit a bar exams. When they pass, then they are called to the bar. The students also raised another issue about even those who are in the Ghana School of Law itself. the pass rate. They say some reforms were conducted by the General Legal Council between the 2013-2014 and 2014-2015 academic years, and that those reforms actually led to the pass rate dropping from about 70% to 29%. Now that has created a backlog of students who have remained on campus because of the repeat policy and are therefore unable to move on to create space for the admission of more students. They say all of that must change. If people could pass, about 70% of students who sat the bar exams then could pass, why would this reform then lead to a retrogression to the extent that only 29% will now pass? That's woeful. Now, they also raised a question about if you apply for remarking of your script, the rules say you have to pay 3,000 Ghana cedis per course. And they say this is completely unfair and it affects people's rights to education because it's exorbitant, it's prohibitive. That it used to be 500, they want a reversal to the 500 remarking fee.
So which interest rate and factors were used in elevating it
from 500 to 3,000 per course? So sometimes even if you believe that a remarking could help you, because of the prohibitive nature of the cost of remarking, many people can apply for it. The results have also shown that repeatedly when people ask for remarking and they are able to raise the money to pay, many of them pass.
I see.
Yes.
So it's just like you need to pay more to pass. That's
absolutely. So these are
behind it.
These are the concerns that the students raise. That they pray that the president will get the Attorney General to get the General Legal Council. The Attorney General is a supervisory institution. The Attorney General's department. The Attorney General is the supervisory minister over the General Legal Council. That's why they want the AG to make an intervention to get the General Legal Council, which is chaired by the Chief Justice, to make the necessary reforms to make legal education in Ghana better than it currently is.
Education has featured heavily in the newspapers this morning, Raymond.
Yes, the president has been speaking on this. He's been urging the students who are going to be the first batch under the free SHS program to actually leave the West African Senior Secondary School Certificate Examination to shame critics who are just waiting impatiently to condemn the policy by passing. He says that my entire legacy depends on you. It is whether you pass or fail that's going to lead to the opponents, those who are being against your progress, to actually proceed to make the kind of claims they've made against this policy for a very long time. So, with all due respect, with all due help, move ahead and deliver. If I pass in proper forms, so that people will know that the free SHS did not make you fail. It did not worsen education in this country. It did not make you worse off than you were supposed to be, as has been determined by some people. We know that on the average, around 70% of the people that sit the West African Senior Secondary School Certificate Examinations do not get to go to any of the tertiary education institutions. 70%. They end up doing other things. Yes, around that particular figure. Sometimes it's slightly above that or below that. But on the average, 70% are thrown out and don't get to proceed to the tertiary institutions that we know them to be in this country. I mean, sometimes even their grading itself, is it the E and F?
E8 and F9.
Brilliant. Itself disqualifies you from going in any other forms when you've gotten all A's through. So that's one of the difficulties that the system presents to some of these students.
Anyways.
So the president is saying that build your strength in a way that you can deliver. And not the interesting part, we're clearly told that the free SHF in of itself, its immediate solution is to provide financial aid. And the provision of financial aid is not a quality-driven factor. So whether or not you pass or fail, it's not dependent on whether or not you get free SHS.
When the free SHS policy was being launched,
you didn't have money. So first,
so now they're giving you the scholarship.
Yes. So your ability to study and pass,
it's entirely your matter.
Yes. No. So don't come and make it dependent on us.
I would dispute that, because when the policy was being launched, it was launched on 3 planks. Access, which is provided by the money that is given, but it's access, quality, and equity.
Yeah.
Equity being we should all be treated in the same way, and quality being what you are actually taught when you go to the classroom. So yes, you can say that providing financial access just does one thing, but it's also a program that includes quality.
But I think there was a response in fact, the third leg which you just raised was actually part of the response which was given to the cynics who argued that the mass scale of pushing everybody to have access to senior higher education was going to lead to a deterioration of the quality of education at that level. So the response was, no, absolutely not. That shouldn't.
Okay. No, okay, so you get the point. So the two are not the same. You hope you get
No,
the
it is a policy that was put out to provide access, quality, and equity. I don't think that the quality was put there to answer an argument or to make an argument. You said you provide quality of education. It is the citizens who determine, if I may, it's the citizens who determine what quality education is.
So what
and
has
at
happened?
the moment, 70% of people who enter can't come out. From the statistics that we have
70%
been,
Not that
cannot
they can't come out, they can't progress.
which is what I'm defining as can't come out.
Okay.
They can't progress to where they are supposed to go to. That is not good quality, and that is what your quality plank must solve. It's not about, you see, that's the thing. Politicians like to win arguments, but it's not about winning an argument. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You didn't put it there to win an argument. You put it there to improve the lives of the over 90,000 people who were added to the policy.
So
anyway.
Long story short, the president says, please don't disgrace me. Prove them wrong. That really we gave you what you deserve.
So what did our educators do to ensure that the students don't disgrace us?
They extended the time for staying in class. You know, they say longer periods for engaging.
More contact hours. That was in the
hours.
double track system, not the original free SHS system. Because there are students who entered free SHS and didn't take part in double track. Actually, this batch
There are
is
so many
speaking
schools, actually.
Actually, this batch is speaking to, they didn't do double track. The first batch of free SHS. It was from the second batch that they did double. So what other quality interventions did they add to it? Anyway, Malik, let's move on.
Yes, so Dr. Emmanuel Akwete of the Institute of Democratic Governance is asking politicians to focus on development and not winning elections. I mean, his case is that the political parties have over-concentrated on winning elections, sometimes to the neglect of development, especially at the local level. And he was saying this at the Graphic Business Stanbic Bank breakfast meeting yesterday, where he said that the political parties must pay particular attention to development at the local level, and that over the years all the local areas have been neglected. It's as if merely by conducting elections and everybody participating in the elections, it necessarily will lead to the development that everybody yearns for. He says that our history hasn't shown it. And it's not limited to just the Fourth Republic. It's actually been a problem since 1958. And he says that must change if the country is to make progress, the progress that it's supposed to make. He talked about the budget deficit as well. And he says because there is over-concentration on elections, elections have become extremely expensive. And now this forces the political parties, especially those in power, to overspend during electoral years. And this over-expenditure then leads to a deficit, which deficit then also leads to an intervention by the IMF. And then we know all of the effects of IMF interventions and all of that. Now, another person who was speaking at this same forum is Dr. Eric Osei-Sibe, who is an associate professor at the economics department of the University of Ghana. And he says that the local assemblies, the metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies must be empowered to be able to raise revenues locally. And that these MMDAs have become overly reliant and dependent on central governments sending them district assembly common fund. He says that if the capacities of these MMDAs are built to enable them raise revenues themselves to fund their development, they will no longer need to rely on central government. Of course, the problem is that some of the MMDAs, especially the districts, are located in deprived areas where there is not major economic activity from which they can raise revenues. So when you go to some of these rural districts, there's not much economic activity there. The people are basically agrarian rural farmers, and these rural farmers do not generate sufficient economic activity with sufficient returns that can be taxed or levied so that the assemblies can raise revenue. So that is the problem with local assemblies being able to raise funding for their own activities.
Or they are not being innovative enough in looking out for the opportunities available to them.
Which is what the One District, One Factory initiative was supposed to solve, to create, economic growth poles around which we can build, so that when the people work at the factories, they get paid, they sell the produce, the factories or the companies will pay some sort of tolls to the assemblies, and then, we grow together, which is why it's very important that some of these factories roll out as they should. The online news review is brought to you by Zenith Bank, in your best interests and Goyle Good Energy. Goyle, your trusted indigenous and #1 oil marketing company, says Ayiko to our numerous customers. Your loyalty to the Goyle brand has been rewarded again. We are now CIMG Hall of Fame Petroleum Company of the Year after 3 consecutive years of success. We dedicate this award to you, our esteemed customers, whose loyalty to the Goyle brand we cherish. Visit any of our 380 plus service stations for quality fuel, lubricants, and unmatched customer service. Buy Goyle, Go Ghana, Goyle Good Energy, Goyle Yenara Yedia. Now, travel lights, shop lights, pay lights, and live lights with Zenith Bank's array of electronic banking products. Whether you're a corporate entity or an individual, Zenith Bank has in electronic products to cater for your unique financial needs. Sign up today for Zenith Bank's electronic banking solutions and enjoy the convenience of banking on the go. Go light with Zenith Bank. It's faster and smarter. Zenith Bank in your best interest. MyJoyOnline.com. Gimpa lecturer writes #sex for grades. The student is never at fault. Can you guys believe that someone texted me to laugh at me yesterday? That's when I opened the phone lines. Ghanaians said it's the student's fault that they are being sexually harassed. And he texted me to laugh at me that, oh, Daniel, I was laughing at you yesterday on the show. Yeah. It's quite the system we live in, guys. Nigerian University suspends sex for grades pastor. Law students demo. Gabi Ablakwa condemn police shameless, senseless use of force. Time to resolve Ghana's election expenditure overruns, Dr. Akwete. Other online stories are from adomonline.com. 307 ambulances to be ready by the end of November. Hawa Kumsin assures. Citynewsroom.com. No evidence of sex for grades in BBC expose. Anti-Sexual Harassment Committee of University of Ghana. The chair of the committee will be on the show today, and we'll be asking her some of these questions. GhanaWeb.com. If you joke, I will deal with you ruthlessly. Obinim wants Obofo. Obinim wants Obofo. BBC.com. Greg Shuf, US pastor, arrested in Rwanda for illegal meeting. You want to get those details on the BBC.com. We'll be right back, though, after this. Stay with us.